We appreciate that.
Recording in progress.
Now, Infotrak, we're known for giving information, and just that's in line with the constitutional requirement of Article 35, which empowers Kenyans to get information as to when they need it. So, in our own fashion, self-funded poll, which we did conduct within the period of the last the last 1 month. This was done on the 18th to 19th of December. Infotrak self-funded through the CATI. CATI is the computer assisted telephonic interview. Majority of you have ever been to our call center, and we'll still be inviting some of you who've never been to our call center to see how interviews are randomly done through a robust database of adult Kenyans. So we wanted to find out how Kenyans are coping with the economic adversities that we are facing as a country. I know it's a global phenomenon. It's not unique to Kenya, but of course we wanted to find out how we are coping, or the current economic situation that Kenyans are feeling. And this was conducted across the 47 counties with a sample size of 1,500 adult Kenyans. And the results that you'll be seeing today, if it were to repeated 95 times, that's what 95% degree confidence means, it will more or less give us the same results, with a margin of error of plus or minus 2.53%. To explain that, it means whatever figure you see, the results you could add 2.53 to that result, or you subtract 2.53 to that result. So that's what the margin of error means. So you can see the distribution that we did. Of course, this is guided by the census 2019, and we focused on the adult population. So you can see the regions that had the highest, and of course with the least northeastern. That is based on the population of that region. Of course, the highest is Rift Valley, because if you look at it population-wise, with 14 counties, it has the highest population.
Before you continue, our request for those who are live, maybe you can introduce yourselves, because they are taking your names.
Okay. So my name is Jovin Wanyingo. I'm one of the research managers here at Infotrak Research and Consulting. So just to give us a summary on what this survey is all about, or what we found out from this survey, a majority, that is 73% of Kenyans, are either in severe economic situation currently, or are struggling to make ends meet. So that is the key takeout that we found out as number one, that a majority of the 73% are either in financial distress or are really struggling to make ends meet. And of course, we can see also, to cope with, they've devised several means or ways just to cope with the financial situation. One of them include getting side hustles or getting double employment. So there are those that are now working daytime, you're working at night, or you're doing something beside what you're employed to do. If it's a side hustle, that can only bring a coin, an extra coin to your pocket, so that you can cope with the situation. And of course, there are those that have reduced their spendings. You've reduced the kind of expenditure you have in the household, so that you can cope with the hard economic situation. Then of course, this hard economic situation has had various impact to our nation. And what do? It has increased stress level and anxiety, mentioned by 48%. 32% have had strain on personal relationship. And of course, 21% have had physical health issues. And of course, 18%, that's nearly 2 in 10, have issues to do with mental health. Another key takeout is that family and friends have become, and of course not to forget the government, they've become the source of assistance. Of course, the family and friends are leading that with 48%. They help their relatives in terms of meeting their livelihoods or getting the daily bread. And of course, there are those who feel government assistance programs have been of most helpful. It can't be lost on us that government has been providing, both county and the national government, they've been providing food rations in various parts of the country. More so during the floods. The floods affected several regions, and the government came handy in terms of providing food rations. Another key 5 takeout is that majority are pessimistic about the situation, more so the economic situation within this year, 2024. They feel and think that school fees will increase, unemployment will definitely increase, the dollar exchange rates against Kenya shillings would increase. We've witnessed this. And of course, 51%, as of the time we were doing this survey, thought the cost of energy would increase. Yes, we've seen the cost of energy, more so the electricity, for those who buy token or they pay the electricity on the postpaid framework. There's been an increase that has been mentioned by most of you, the members of Fourth Estate. Several people complaining that the cost of their energy has really gone up. But also there is a reduction on the fuel prices that we've seen announced by the government. But I believe the impact has not so been felt because the amount are really insignificant, I would say so. And that has not really made an impactful impression on the economy. Then, of course, the last key takeout is that Kenyans would need support from the government to cope with this hard economic situation. How do they want it done? How would they want it done? Someone has to mute whoever's joined, or there would be humming sound. Thank you. So, 26% recommend a reduction on the cost of living. How this can be done, it's by the government just reducing either taxes. That was suggested by 12%, 13%. And of course, creation of more employment opportunity, still mentioned by 13%. Others suggesting reduction of the cost of education and reduction on high taxation. We note that this is the time that parents are taking their kids to school, and there's been a lot of some levies introduced. And I saw the president yesterday pronouncing himself against such levies that may have been introduced by schools. And of course, saying that the government has released the computation needed for the JSS and of course the primary school. So these were the key takeouts. So just getting into the main meat, like I did mention, the 73% who felt that they're either in severe financial stress or are struggling to make end meet. And you can see 18% are in severe financial stress, save for the 5% who are comfortable. So you can see if only 5% out of 100 are comfortable, that gives a huge chunk of 95% in one way or the other struggling financially or due to the economic situation. And if we look at region-wise, of the 8 regions we have, 4 regions, that's a half of the country, feel they are really struggling. Of course, the leading being here, Northern Kenya, Northeastern, Coast at 76%, Central 74%, and Rift Valley at 73%. But also if we look at both gender and age, the age that is feeling the heat the most are the younger ones. That is 18 to 26 years percent, and of course 55 years plus who are both rated at 77%, claiming they're either in severe financial distress or economic distress. I've talked about this. If you check by region, save for Western and Nairobi, that had a lower score, and of course Eastern there, that also had a lower score of 78%. Those are struggling to make end meet. But if you look at the severity, Northeastern stands out. And of course, Nairobi, it's a bit, maybe because there are a lot of side jobs that people can do within Nairobi. But also, if you look at gender, you can see the female. Between the ratio between female and male, there's only a 3% difference, so that's not quite significant. But of course, the female, I believe, because they're the ones doing household budgeting and household purchases, they're the ones who are really, really feeling the most heat. When we move, we wanted to find out the strategies that we as a nation have adopted. What are some of the mechanisms that are being employed by Kenyans just to try and mitigate the economic adversity? We can see here nearly a half, 45%, have sought additional employment or income sources. If you see within the online marketplace, there's been an increase of people posting for items they sell, either farm produce or non-farm produce. People are doing a lot of online businesses, and I believe that is one of side jobs that people do. And of course, apart from that, there are a lot of online engagement so that somebody can get a coin or two just to add into whatever they are earning in a regular employment. Of course, there's been also a significant number, 41%, who've cut back on non-essential expenses. I believe you people know what non-essential expenses are. So if it was a Sunday out or a weekend out for the family, you can reduce it to maybe once in a month or not doing it at all. Then, of course, taking out loans. That's mentioned by nearly 1 in 5 who take out loans just to mitigate. Then, of course, utilizing community resources like food banks and shelter. Those that cannot afford rent have opted for where they can get communal housing. And of course, the food banks. Those that a lot of charity or NGOs that are providing food stuff to the less fortunate in the society. Then, of course, borrowing money from friends and family, still with a significant 15%. And of course, those that are seeking financial counseling and assistance. And there are those who depend on food ratios mentioned by 3%, and reduction on the number of meals that one consumes or a family consumes per day mentioned by 1%. So you can see this, among others, are some of the ways Kenyans have adopted just to mitigate or to cope up with the economic hardship. Moving on, you can see it spread by gender. Of course, most men, these hard economic times had on us as a nation. Of course, it has led to stress and anxiety. 48% of Kenyans are now reporting they're very stressed and they're anxious. They don't know what would happen next. Then, of course, there's the 32% who've said it has caused strain on personal relationship. Watu ni wakali too, I guess. So, because if you are asked on something that you cannot provide or you are providing previously and you're not able to provide now, then that there would be some strain. Then led to physical health issues and negatively affected my mental health status. Of course, mental is a big thing in Kenya. We've seen a lot of incremental numbers of people going mental. And I believe that is just trying to find out where will my next meal or where will my rent come from, where will the school fee for the kids come from. So people are really mentally disturbed. So, still moving on. Helpful systems in dealing with this hard economic situation. Friends and family have topped the list. That this is one source where people run to. If you have a friend who is doing, remember there was that 5% who are not feeling any heat. You may have a fraction of that 5%, or those that are neither struggling nor enjoying good economic situation. You could be, they could be the people that we are running to. And of course, I know those that are in the cities are also depending a lot on the food stuff that are sent from the villages, just to make ends meet, and I believe that is being sent by their families and friends. And of course, government assistance. Kudos to the regions that are enjoying or that receive government support. We know within the time that we're doing this survey, and even till now, floods really caused a lot of havoc for those who depend on farming, and the farms were washed away. So government, I've seen quite a number of clips where they're distributing food ratios. And of course, NGOs have not been left behind. 19% of them have come up handy in terms of assisting families that are in their need. Online financial management resources, those, the lending companies, the apps, people are really depending on them so that they can get a coin or so to sustain their families. And of course, employer assistance program for the employers who are giving some assistance to their employees. It was mentioned by at least 1 in 10% of those that we interviewed appreciate whatever their employers are giving in terms of assistance. Then, of course, there are 8% who have no support system. I believe this, if we triangulate, those that are stressed, those are facing a lot of mental health, a majority would have come from the 8% who have no support system. Then, of course, there's 1% who are selling their property. If you have a property, if you have savings, we've seen in the previous slides, those that are utilizing their savings just to ensure that they can feed their family. Now, if you look at this across the regions, it's just still point out to Eastern region, Western region, where people depend mainly on friends and family. And you can see here again, Coast Province and the Coast region, Coast region had the highest impact when it came with during the flooding. And I believe the government might have spent a lot because that's where majority cited. And of course, Rift Valley, they're at 27%. And not to forget Nairobi, where 25% mentioned they've been getting government assistance. And of course, you can see those that are selling their property, still Eastern, are selling a lot of property. I believe most of the lands that are bought are within the Eastern, the neighboring Nairobi. So maybe landed the property are part of the items that people sell to ensure they can have a coin or so in their pocket so that they can meet up with the hard economic times. And of course, we can see by gender and of course by age. The most affected age are the mature adults, the 46 to 55 plus, those shaded red. And of course, by gender, we can see most female, and we have to give it to them. They will always look for friends and family just to offer a support mechanism because they had the highest. At least half of them depend on friends and family so that they can get a support or so. So we also wanted to find out whether over the next year, do you think the following will increase, decrease, or remain the same? And by the time we're doing this survey, the cost of living, of course, mentioned by 48% who felt it will increase. I believe that's just 1 month now. We can report. And I believe you can report positively so that it has increased. School fee for those parents in this house, I believe if you compare what you're paying last year and comparing now, there might be a change, or any guardian in the house who is supporting a child or so. There is some element of increment at the school, in the school fee that we pay. Cost of energy, I had mentioned at the opening remark. We've seen the cost of one element, that is electricity. The tokens have really increased. Fuel, I know there has been a drop of about 5 shillings, but it's still in the neighborhood of 200 plus. So I believe they still believe it will increase over time. Then unemployment, a lot of redundancies has been declared, and the companies still continue to declare redundancy. So I believe they project that it will increase. Cost of fertilizer, there are those who believe 40% mention that it will increase, with only 38% saying it will decrease, and 10% mentioning it will remain the same. The rate of dollar against Kenya shillings, by the time we're doing the survey, it was in the neighborhood of 50s. It has crossed 160. It's going towards 163 now. That's official rate. I don't know what the black market rates are, but we can do more investigative journalism to find. But I believe, as they had hypothesized then, that it was going to increase. It has actually increased. So the same sentiment, there's no major difference, or there's no key highlights by gender or by age to point out. So we finally wanted to find out the suggestions. Are there specific areas you